Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to our session 4. Ito pag-uusapan natin ngayon yung mga basic concept ng research such as research problem, objectives, and other concepts. So the first thing that we need to do is to identify the problem, and that's the starting point of every research. According to Fisher, a problem is a perceived difficulty, a feeling of discomfort with the way things are, a discrepancy between someone believes should be and what is. Any of these conditions would have been experienced by a normal individual at any point of his life. So we really know that all of us experience a problem. So we perceive a lot of difficulties or discomforts with the things that we encounter every day. Without a problem, no research can be undertaken. According to Leddy, the problem is the heart of every research project because it is paramount in importance to the success of the research effort. Thus, the situation is simple. No problem, no research. What are the characteristics of a researchable problem? First is that when there is no known answer or solution to the problem, such that gap in knowledge exists. Two, when there are possible solutions to it, but the effectiveness of which is untested or unknown yet. When there are answers or solutions, but the possible results of which may seem or factually contradictory. Four, when there are several possible and plausible explanations for the undesirable condition, and five, when the existence of phenomenon requires explanation. What are the sources of a research problem? First and foremost, our personal experiences. So we just need to be a keen observer and sensitive to what is happening around us in order for us to discern or detect the problems that are existing in our environment. Number two is the common sense. Of course, common sense is the things that we all believe as true. However, researchers are likely to work on ideas that do not conform with what common sense dictates. There is value in testing common sense ideas because not all of them may turn out to be valid. Hindi lahat ng pinaniwalaan natin ay totoo, no? So number three are theories, are good source of research problem. A theory is a tentative or hypothesized statement of relationships that exist between and among concepts or things. Many theories nowadays were challenged by researchers to prove whether it is still valid or applicable in today's modern times, or it is already obsolete. So one concrete example, this is the theory of the tabula rasa, which states the blank state that says an individual is born without built-in mental content, and therefore all knowledge comes from experience. It disagrees with the doctrine of innatism, which holds that the mind is born already in possession of certain knowledge. It leads to the debatable issue of nature versus nurture. Is there really an inborn talent and intelligence, or it is just acquired through training, practice, and experiences? What else? So, past research. Another good source of research problems are the past research. Those are research or researches conducted by the government agencies as well as other non-government agencies, which serves as the repositories of the past research, such as yung mga research conducted by the DOH, the Department of Science and Technology, and the Department of Agriculture. Those are just few of the examples of the source of good research. Out of these findings of some researchers, articles are written and published in professional journals. These articles often stimulate others to do further research on the topics. What are the characteristics of a good research problem? Number one, research problem should be of great interest to the researcher. To have met this important criterion is to have already won half of the battle, because with so much interest on the topic, the researcher is motivated and determined to work on it for months or even years until its completion, disregarding or tackling whatever difficulty or obstacle that comes his way. Research problems should be relevant and useful to a specific group of people. Researchers are usually undertaken with the end in view of improving the life of a specific group of people. This group could be mothers of the unprivileged children, migrant workers, farmers, fishermen, drivers, construction workers, and school dropouts and underachievers. Research problem is good when it is novel, meaning it possesses the element of newness or freshness. This implies avoiding doing a study on topics which have been subjects of many investigations and pursuing those which were not studied before, or if they were not thoroughly studied. And four, a good research problem should be well defined or specified. A problem definition includes clear statements of key concepts in the study and specification of its scope or coverage, vis-a-vis issues or concerns, area, coverage, subjects, time requirement, and type of data needed. A good research problem should be measurable. If the concepts and variables covered by the research problem do not allow measurement, the researcher will have an impossible task of coming up with the result or findings of the study. Somehow, some quantification and statistical analysis, however basic or elementary, are needed in a study. This is true even in qualitative studies where figures or numbers are not of much use and given less emphasis. A good research problem is time-bound. This means that a study of a research problem or topic can be completed within a specific period of time. A study which can be finished within a short period of time is more attractive and useful than that which can be completed in an indefinite or longer period of time. A research problem is good if it does not cause ethical or moral violations. A study which violates privacy, dignity, self-respect, and freedom of the target population should not be pursued. The same is true with researches which expose people to physical harm, psychological and emotional stress, and those which deprive benefits from some groups involved in a study. We're going to define the research problem. First, we need to clearly define the major concepts, terms, and variables in the study. Limit the scope of the study in terms of issues, concerns, or subjects, area of coverage, target population, and or sample population, source of data or respondents, time allotment, and data requirements. It may be a qualitative or quantitative or both. Justifying the research problem. Having defined clearly the problem of the study, the next task of a researcher is to rationalize or explain why he selected a certain problem over other probable ones. It is most likely that he will be asked not only to explain why he chose it, but to convince the members of the approving committee about the possible important contributions of the study to the welfare and development of a specific group of people or the society as a whole. To come up with persuasive arguments on the value of studying the problem, the following guide questions will be helpful. Is the problem a current and timely one? Is it pervasive or widespread? Does it affect a special group of people? Does it relate to ongoing programs? Does it relate to broad social, economic, and health issues? Who else is concerned about the problems? Research objectives. The term objective has been defined as an effect that is desired or expected to be achieved by an activity, project, or program, according to Blumenfield, 1985. Research objectives then refers to the statements of purpose for which the investigation is to be conducted. They are stated right after the introductory section where research problem is discussed. Major classification of research objective. First is the general objective. It is a broad statement of purpose which uses abstract and non-measurable concepts. So example is the students' attitudes toward their studies in relation to their academic performance. General objective. The general aim of this study is to find out the relationship between the attitudes of students towards their studies and academic achievement. Specific objective is a statement of purpose which uses well-defined and measurable concepts. Example, specifically, this study aims to know the following. What are the attitudes of students towards their studies in terms of A. Study habit, A.2 attendance, A.3 participation in curricular and co-curricular activities. How to state research objectives. To test the clarity of research objectives, it is suggested that the researcher reads to two or more persons the study objectives and asks them about their understanding of them. If the understanding among the persons asked are similar and match with that of the researcher, then the objectives are clearly stated. Research objectives may be written in declarative or question form, depending on the chosen style of the researcher. Declarative form. Example, to find out the level of administrative competence of school administrators in Dumaran Island District. Question form. What is the level of administrative competence of school and administrators in Dumaran Island District? Whatever form of the researcher had chosen, it should be used for all the statements of the research objectives. He should not have a mix of the declarative and the question forms. Research paradigm or framework. Theory. A basic to research paradigm is the theory, which is a set of concepts and their relation, which explains, predicts, and interprets how a particular phenomenon exists and operates. Theoretical paradigm makes use of a theory or theories in explaining why a certain phenomenon exists and how various factors which brought about the phenomenon are interrelated. It uses abstract concepts, but in some instances, it is a combination of abstract and a well-defined concept. A researcher may adapt existing theories on which to anchor or base his particular study. Examples of educational theory and research. So, Project CARES, Campus Amusement Recreational Educational Station in Santa Teresita National High School. So, the theoretical framework used here is the theory of Jean Piaget in 1960. And of course, it is supported by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 31. So, the conceptual paradigm has the same function as the theoretical framework. The difference lies in the type of concepts which they use. While the theoretical paradigm uses abstract concepts, the conceptual paradigm uses constructs which are specific or well-defined concepts. Operational paradigm is the level where the concepts used are not only defined as they are used in the study, but measurable as well. It is the measurability of concepts that distinguishes the operational paradigm from theoretical and conceptual paradigm. It is the same element which makes it more useful than the two others. The meaning of concepts in operational paradigm are similar to the operational definition of terms. So this is an example of a conceptual paradigm of the study. You can see the independent variable, intervening variable, and the dependent variable. You can see the arrow coming from the independent, pointing to the intervening, and finally to the dependent variable. A conceptual paradigm is not required for descriptive and comparative studies. It is only required for relational studies, which involves independent and dependent variables, sometimes with intervening variables in between. Example, availability and adequacy of ICT facilities in Danleg Elementary School. So it's purely descriptive, no correlation, no dependent and independent variable, therefore no need of conceptual framework. Assessment of teachers and learners on the implementation of child protection policy in Santa Teresita National High School. This is comparative study, so no correlation, no dependent and independent variable, no need of conceptual framework. So only relational studies are required to have a schematic diagram of conceptual framework to provide the reader illustrations that will clearly describe the relations between or among variables. So another example, academic performance of grade 9 science class students as correlates to parents' participation and involvement in school activities. So this is a relational study. In independent variable, we have the parents' participation in school activities. The dependent is the academic performance. So, therefore, conceptual framework is needed. So, thank you very much. These are the important concepts, basic concepts in doing a research. I hope you learned something from our video lesson today. And see you next video lesson. Thank you very much and good day, everyone.